What's up, everyone? Welcome to podcast number 14. Today, I have more players than streamers, and well, actually, same amount of players as streamers. We have Caerliss today, Suck, aka Skylar, and Washable. I'll let them introduce themselves in that order first, and then we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Caerliss. Probably haven't heard me too often. I do not stream, but I am probably known more for my whaling habits than anything else. Probably also my devil's advocate approach to some topics on the game. But thanks for having me, Gabe. Glad to be part of it.
Appreciate it. Skylar?
Oh shit, I was muted. Hey, what's up? My name is Suck, aka Skylar. Some of you will probably see me on Tonight's stream. This is actually my first time doing a podcast. So yeah, I'm hoping someone else can take the lead here, Platy.
Yeah, no worries. Washable?
Yeah, I am Washable, or you can just call me Ben, but I stream as well. Cleaver in the making, as everyone knows. But yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it. Thanks for inviting me.
So new faces all around, and yeah, so just a quick rundown itself. Caerliss and Suck, or Skylar, both of them are high ranked in RTA, both legend players. Washable has really good gear quality, also as a streamer, so everyone here is pretty experienced with the game itself. And yeah, so to get started here, topic one, I think probably what most people will be wondering about in chat is Krau here. So I guess what a lot of people will probably wonder about is Krau worth it, essentially? Like, what are your thoughts on Krau? How will he fit into the current meta of RTA, Guild Wars, Arena, and whatnot? And what do you guys feel about him?
I think someone said it well a few weeks ago. If you have to think about whether or not you need Krau versus someone like Dark Corvus, chances are Dark Corvus is going to do much more better for you. Krau is going to be your unit that you generally bring in against Cleave, but I feel like he has other uses too. But I kind of want to see more about his damage. I know that the numbers are out there, but I want to see how he does first in a few comps I have in mind before I really put a green sticker on him for me. But I really think he's a solid unit. But as far as is he worth spending your mystics on, it really depends where you're at in the game and really what you're having trouble with in both RTA and for those who might not be at the RTA level yet in Guild Wars or Arena.
Fair. Washable, what do you think?
I think the thing that makes Krau so valuable right now is the fact that he is a knight. And everyone knows right now knights are pretty relevant in RTA. He gets access to all like the best knight artifacts, or just I think the best artifacts right now in like Adam and Aureus. You could run more like cheese with Holy Sack. Crown of Glory is also like a fun one if you want to take more souls. But I think the ability to scale well into Frenzy really makes him kind of a scary unit. So for those like Horseman players, I think should look into investing into Krau, but for like maybe mid to early game, like it's probably not as important.
Okay, fair points. Skylar, any other thoughts?
Yeah, at least from an RTA perspective, I think he fits really well into the current meta. Just off the top of my head, like the most common AoE DPS you see nowadays: RB, SSB, Dizzy, even ML Tywin, Krau goes well into all of those. Yeah, with the current meta, you can't go wrong with having more knights on your team.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me is we've seen his initial skill 3 damage, but we know his damage scales. So, like being a tanky unit in RT especially, he'll probably get more and more turns. Like he'll get the turns to go. He'll be able to stack the skill 3 more. Like I'm curious how much damage he'll do as it goes, because not to mention it's also true damage, right? So that's the biggest thing that I'm worried about is like if it stacks a bit and then people with really good gear, like Krau might be really oppressive with that or in that sense there. So I'm a little curious about that. Oh, sorry, go for it. Did you have something to say?
I was just going to say, one use I'm curious to see if people are actually going to try using him in is not so much on the defensive side, but also on the offense. One of the ideas that I've been playing around in my head and I really want to try out is actually trying to fit him into a slow cleave comp, just as a way to kind of shadow pick ML Krau first, just so your opponent doesn't know what you're doing, and then go into the cleave. Just because of the true damage that also helps against more tankier comps, and especially if they go MLV or Rylot as one of their counter options. It's a way to kind of bring him down a little more as well.
That's kind of true, because like if you pick him first, it still allows you to. He's more like a neutral pick, right? And you can transition him. If the person decides to like contest you or still sort of like cleave you, then your true damage will still do a lot of damage regardless, because they'll be squishy units. So that's pretty fair thoughts. Like, okay, so the other thing is, do you guys feel like you're gonna build him just typical speed set?
I think the faster the better, right? He gives himself speed buff, so like the faster like he is, the more impact you get from the skill 1. Also, like you want to generate as many turns to again cycle and get that skill 3 up as fast as possible, in my opinion.
Okay. For night comps itself wise, thoughts wise, like Skylar, like what do you feel like would be your draft if you were to have the ML Krau there? Like right now, just theory, because we don't have him yet.
In theory, probably just comp like if you were to first pick him, say into an SSB or Krau Rel comp.
Okay.
Sustain isn't exactly meta right now. Like you have Rel and DN as the only meta sustain units.
Yeah.
So 5,000 true damage on your first turn is a lot to recover from, especially coming from a knight.
Do you guys think he should be like going? So he gives immunity to his team, right? So like, I'm guessing you guys are gonna think he's gonna take the first turn before other units go, or would you rather have him like slower so you can have like a DN cleanse any debuffs off or anything, and then skill 3 to give your team immunity?
I think really. Go ahead, Jinx.
Jinx.
Skylar, no worries.
I think faster on Krau will be better, as Bly said. Just so you can cycle his I think his S2 berry refreshes or the cooldown of the barrier refreshes at the start of every turn. So you really want to be cycling the barrier and his S3 turns as fast as possible.
Okay. What about, actually, sorry. What about this? For Washable and Caerliss, I guess, is do you guys think he'll need high effect resist? Like, like normal Krau, you run him at like 100, at least 130 plus effect resist, usually somewhere higher around the ends, so he can't get like provoked and whatnot. What do you think about that?
I personally would not. I think I'd try to focus more on just the HP and tankier stats. But it really depends, again, on what you plan on using him for. The same goes for his speed, too. I mean, if you want to use him more for the late game cleave, then I would say build him more tanky, a little more defense, definitely faster, too. The thing is, it comes down to, again, what you want to use him for, because I would say that there's better options as far as tankier units that you want to build high effect resist.
Yep.
I don't believe ML Krau is one of those.
Okay.
I kind of agree with that, honestly. Like, I think the big stat that you're looking for is speed and HP. So HP obviously for more damage, and then speed to, like I said earlier, just cycle those turns. Obviously, you don't want to run like 1,000 defense. I think like that 1.6, 1.7 is probably fair. But if I pull him, I'm gonna forego that FRS stat, I think, for higher priority in like the speed and HP.
Okay, fair enough. I guess provokes don't matter as much also, I guess, in this case, because let's say if you do get provoked, if you're running a faster one, your skill 1 gets speed buff, you'll probably cycle out of any sort of debuffs really quickly for your team too. So true. Okay, we'll talk about that more maybe when he comes out, after you guys have tested him, and then we'll see what happens then. All right, second topic here. This is going to be a bit of a weird one. So I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are from your standpoints of, most players here higher up probably spend a bit of money, right? What are your thoughts on the quality of life including the recent new Mola packs. I'm curious for most of your thoughts there.
I'm gonna be very honest. I kind of was talking about this morning when I was streaming. I think it's definitely not healthy for the game the way that they are like promoting things for at least the end game and for people to like try to catch up. So to solve Mola problems, I don't think you release a new $100 pack for 22 Molas. I think that doesn't really help anyone. Like people who are light spenders don't want to spend that amount of money to catch up, and the people who are willing to spend just buy it anyways and get further ahead. So like the gap just increases between the people who are willing to spend and the people who obviously aren't willing to spend. I don't think that solves anything. I also think that while most of the quality of life changes are good, it doesn't like that. I don't want to say it doesn't really affect us, but like to me, I haven't seen anything noticeable outside of like artifacts not being part of gear storage.
Bulk promotion.
That is true, but I'm not promoting things. I'm just farming wyvern.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a smaller thing. Like it's nice to have kind of thing. What are your thoughts, Caerliss, Skylar?
I'll be honest, I haven't used the bulk promotion yet. I'm one of the people who didn't really think that was a necessary thing. I personally wasn't asking for it, so when they read it off, I just thought, okay, cool. But as far as the other quality of life, I think I'm kind of with Washable there. The changes really haven't impacted me that much. Personally, I did not have equipment inventory problems because I had my equipment equipped to fodder and just units I wasn't using. So I had probably 350 items in my inventory, even with artifacts counting against it. And I mean, yay, more inventory space for me, I guess. But personally, I think that the people who were having inventory problems before are still going to be having inventory problems because it comes down to managing your inventory better. Equipping stuff to units you aren't using, whether it be fodder or just units you have benched, and just making sure that the same goes for just your artifacts. Don't hoard equipment. Try to either sell it, enhance it, and if you're sitting in your inventory for so long, probably get rid of it if you're not going to upgrade it.
Okay, true.
And as far as Molagora go, I'm one of the guys who personally thinks that, at least for late game players, Molagora is okay. I could understand Molagora problems for newer players or players that are trying to catch up, but I personally did not think that Molagora was a big issue because I'm against the idea that you should be able to Molagora every unit that you have in your arsenal. I think that making it a little more limited is a good idea, but I do think that there needs to be some way for newer players to ramp up, because especially if they're a competitive player, they're going to get bored really fast.
Skylar, what do you feel about that?
So yeah, as far as the changes like the separate inventory for artifacts, mass promotion, I don't think anybody could say that those are bad changes. And even the free entry to expeditions, I think that was added recently.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can complain about those being bad quality of life changes. But yeah, as far as the Mola changes go, it just puts that much more pressure on competitive players to have to spend to keep up. I believe it was 9 Molas per pack before, if I'm not wrong. But now if you're not buying the Mola packs every month, you're losing out on basically a fully Mola 5-star unit every month. And that just widens the gap between people that want to stay competitive without spending and the people who just buy the packs out every month.
So there's a lot of stuff like, so or at least I've heard about how Whitey had an idea, which was like, like a Mola pass bought with Skystones, where there's like a pay to win method. I believe was what he said, where you can get the pay to win people can get more Molas, but then the free to play players have more Molas to get from that. So the one thing I want to talk about here is quick thoughts about this, I guess, is what I want to tell is I feel like there's always going to be a point where people will always want more, which is what I'm worried about. It's like, I guess, like, where does it get to a point where it's enough, right? obviously I do agree that right now I feel like it's a little bit of a issue that each month it's almost like for competitive players, if you're not spending, unfortunately, like $200, I think, right, then you're gonna fall behind. I feel like, which I think that part itself was, I don't know how to say it. Like, I don't know what's the word for it, but before it was just 9 molas, right? You spend $50 a month. That it's like at least guaranteed you have to spend $50 a month. Now the cost like went up by like a crazy amount, like for competitive players. And obviously, free-to-play players is a totally different story there. But aside from that, okay, what do you guys feel about like a battle pass kind of thing for molas?
I would like that more if they didn't continue on this trend of releasing like artifacts on old like rerun banners for units that I don't particularly care about. Like some of these artifacts, I think the Tenebria artifact, I know this isn't really about the molas, but it's more so about like giving this access to like buy with Skystones for free-to-play players.
Yeah.
Now they have to choose, like, that's an additional thing. It's like, do I mola this unit, or do I pull for this rerun banner to try to get this artifact that's going to be really strong, or do I save for, like, a limited unit, like, what's her name, the new one, the mecha one?
Landy?
I didn't even think she was going to be limited. I was not expecting a limited unit. It came out of nowhere, and now I was stuck between, like, what do I want to prioritize? Do I want to prioritize getting Emerald Krau? Do I want to prioritize the like Tenebria artifact or an S10 imprints? Do I want to prioritize like getting this new limited and the limited artifact? And Gabe, I'm sure you can tell everyone how it is to pull these limited ranger artifacts. So I like the idea, but again, I think just the rate at which they're releasing stuff behind older content is, I just don't think it would work, because it just adds another thing for people to complain about. Personally, like then their complaint is like, oh, there's too many like options now, and like I still can't get these molas because I can't get this battle pass because I can't pull for this unit, and then etc. etc.
I guess, okay, so actually let me ask a question here. Skylar, for units you want to actually use, do you feel, I guess off the top of your head, how many units do you feel like you want to invest into but you don't have molas for? I'm curious with where you're at.
As of right now, I actually have all the units that I built and mola to a level that I feel is comfortable using in RTA. But as far as the mola issues go, I think Smilegate's kind of done a 180 from what they intended molas to be from when the game launched. If you all remember the Mola Gorgors at launch, I'm sure they didn't intend like units to be plus 15. Every unit, like in their roster, to be plus 15.
Yeah.
But then they kind of did a 180 with the Mola cost reductions, the removal of Mola Gorgora, and then the Mola refunds. So I guess now we're at the stage where Smilegate needs to decide whether a plus 15 unit is the bare minimum to use them, or.
To be fair,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, to be fair, Smilegate didn't even intend for us to have as many units as we do have now, because pity wasn't a thing. So as far as how the design goes before, it was probably okay, because we have way more units to level than they probably ever intended for us to have in the first place when they originally designed the skill enhancement.
That's true. When the game first came out, there was no pity, so like it was a lot harder for people to acquire units. Like I think, well, I don't know about you guys, I forgot. I know there's some people that can attest to that. Like pulling for some banners in the past, you could spend like over like I think like 600 pulls, and you might have gotten one of those units. But
yeah, I spent 1,700 bookmarks for like Green Bologna. I spent like 1,400 for Lulica. Spent like 50-ish around there, like 15 to 16 for Sirmia. I didn't end up getting Sirmia. Like, a lot of my spending actually early was just like trying to pull for these units.
And then now, like, like what Caerliss said, right? Is like now all these units, we have a pity for them, so like people can save up for it. It's a lot easier for people to get these units now, guaranteed. So there's that. I'm a little bit conflicted about like the battle pass. Like it's a nice idea, but like what Washable said was, with all the different things we need to spend Skystones on now, like it's like there's always that more and more there's a higher and higher cost for that. Maybe I guess I'll be honest about this, is maybe like lowering the mola cost for, as people said, like 4-star units might be a better method to go around about that for people. Rather than making it so that like molas, so you can acquire more molas or something like that. But
yeah, we're getting into this issue where like there's more stuff that we have to save for, but not enough like resources like being like there's not a good flow of like resources into the account. So like even like for me, who's I've spent money on this game, everyone knows that, but like I'm having to now pick and choose like pretty carefully like what I need to like do to like not spend too much, I guess, if that makes sense.
okay. That's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more because I know this issue. Well, the Molagor issue was actually brought up to Smilegate, so we'll see what they say about it, what they think about that. If they have a response to that regarding that. All right. So there's a bit of weird topic. I guess I would say a little bit of theory crafting, but Landy, early thoughts. Do you feel like she'll be a good unit, or do you feel like she'll be I guess to some people, quote unquote, a bait banner? Granted, this is a freaking limited unit now, so I guess most people are gonna have to just regardless pull for it. But thoughts on what her skill set is like, and artifact also.
Flan when.
Okay, all right. Okay, no. Landy, bro. Yeah, let's start with Skylar.
Yeah, I mean, just look at her kit at a glance. I think it'll be hard for her to find a place in the current, at least RTA meta.
Oh,
Just as a standalone DPS unit, since looks like she brings nothing but damage in her kit. And you look at the meta DPS units right now, which is basically RB and I guess Violet, Specty. They all have some kind of gimmick that helps keep them alive to keep doing damage.
Yeah.
RB has his life, Specty has her stealth. Violet has his evade when it works. Whereas Landy, there's really no way to keep her alive after her first turn. So she's kind of like a one and done unit unless you run her in a specific setup like Rose Cleave or Oxlots. It's kind of like the same bandit or same issue that I've had with Berseria in RTA, where if you build her as a pure DPS unit, she has to be ran in a specific team setup for her to be effective.
That's true. Do you guys feel like she could be built as a bruiser?
Yes.
Yeah.
Personally, if I was to build her, she would be as a bruiser. I think she is really weird in the way that, personally, when I see comps that like to have lots of buffs, my immediate thought isn't going to a unit that does more damage based on how many buffs my opponent has, but rather what units I could bring to the table that remove said buffs. So she's kind of counterproductive in that sense, but there are units out there, such as Maid Chloe, where they bring specifically offensive buffs, and she does shine in those kind of comps. And then there's the whole idea that she can CR boost with her S1, so she does have some synergy with units like Raz, Lilius, although kind of RNG on the Lilius part, where she can actually cycle her turns really fast if you do build her fast and bruisery, and she has the potential of dishing out a lot of damage. Now, the question is, obviously, how much damage is that? Because she will be getting those S2 attack procs, well, not attack procs, but attack stacks every time she does cycle her turn. So I do think building her fast is the way to go, building her bruisery is the way to go, and then kind of relying on those stacks just to give her the extra boost in damage. Now, that means that she is going to be gear reliant, very gear reliant for that fact, but I do feel like she can shine in the right kind of build. And with artifacts out there such as Sword of Justice, it's very possible for her to cycle her turns extremely fast. I mean, if you attack a unit that has a buff and that Sword of Justice procs, that's what, 60% CR boost right there off of her S1.
Oh, that's true. Do you feel like though, like so you mentioned that, but do you feel like her artifact itself would be better, like a better better one for her because of that possibility of greater?
I think it's too conditional.
Okay.
Personally, I don't know. Caerliss, what were you going to say? Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. I think my mic just picked up my fan there.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I just think it's a little bit too conditional. I wasn't thinking about Sword of Judgment, but I kind of like that idea. But I guess if you're bringing her into a buff team, which you probably are anyways, the artifact is fine. I mean, it's greater attack, and we all know what greater attack does to this game. And
True.
And we all know it's a limited artifact, so you should try to at least get one. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think. Then again, actually, now that I think about it, outside of Drink, name one relevant Ranger artifact. I guess Confile.
Guiding Light to a degree on some Rangers.
Yeah.
Guiding Light could be good on a faster build, actually, too. I don't know. I think the 50% bonus attack is really nice in her, though, like from her passive. Like, I don't think that's something to look over, and I think it's essentially the same as like a max attack Stenny, right?
Right. Plus, if she can cycle her turns really fast, I mean, that is going to be a CR boost to the team as well. So it does, in a way, it just increase the speed of the team as well. So there is that to consider as well.
I think one thing I didn't think about that you're definitely right about is when you brought up is if you bring, like, if someone drafts a team that's going to have a lot of buffs, usually you don't think about, oh, how am I going to do more damage to get through all those buffs? It's how can I remove some of those buffs, or how can I kind of tank it out so those buffs go away to do damage afterwards, kind of thing, usually, right? Or either do damage before the buffs come up or after the buffs are gone. But then with this unit, it's like, wow, the more buffs there are, the more damage I'm going to do. But then if they have, like, you know, skill nullifier, defense buff, anti-crit and all that stuff, like, it lowers your damage by a lot then, right? In that situation. So that's true. That's something that kind of feels counterintuitive, I guess, right? Like, yeah, I don't know about that one.
I think it kind of comes down to our numbers right now.
Yeah, we don't know her multipliers.
If her multis are just insane, like, obviously, like,
true.
GG go next, but
true.
I don't know. She's an interesting unit for sure. It's I mean, anything that can, like, reset her skill cooldowns too at max focus, right? Like,
that's one thing we don't know about.
Really cool.
Yeah, that's one thing we don't know about. Like, we saw in the video, from what I saw, it's like you boosted her turn came, and she was instantly 100 fury. Like, she got an instant, like, max fighting spirit, which was kind of insane, possibly. So I'm curious what teams people will kind of draft into that.
I forget, what's her soul burn? Is it extra damage?
Yeah, extra damage.
Oh, is it?
Love to see it.
Oh,
you love to see it.
10 souls as well.
Oh, it's a 10 soul burn. Okay.
One will Smilegate learn 10 soul burns are not good.
ML Tywin.
So,
hey, Ross.
Kind of on the topic of Landy, I do have a question. What are your guys' thoughts on Smilegate adding the clause of cannot be countered to units nowadays?
Rip my boy ML Ken.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, rip ML Ken. Like, I think it just makes Charles worse.
Yeah.
In a sense, like, a lot of these, like, oppressive units, they're kind of just, it's just kind of there, right, to, like, deal with the units that people have complained about in the past, in my opinion. Like, everyone's like, oh, Charles is going to correct my posture. Soloed by ML Ken. And then, like, now all these units, like, all these DPS, like, Pavel is buffed, it cannot be countered. Like, now
Spectre
this unit
got
cannot
buffed.
be countered. Yeah, Spectre Tenebria, like, everything has this cannot be countered, and then all these units, like our boy ML Ken, they just kind of stand there and die. And they're like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
That's kind of my concern too. I feel like Smilegate's kind of dancing around the issues in general, and they're just trying to release units that kind of fix certain things. And some of these methods that they're utilizing, I feel like, are really dangerous. Such as the cannot be countered on some of these units, because I feel like the first unit that cannot be countered, I think that's fine. But the more of those units that you add to the game, the slower you're just killing off. Well, not so much killing off sets, but you're making sets such as the counter set or such as ML Ken slowly less and less and less really good in the current meta, because all they have to do is draft one or two of those. Now I think we have 5 units that cannot be countered, but if they keep on adding them, it's just going to be you're going to have a huge arsenal of units that you can just bring to these counter units, and now you have a 130 speed Charles that can't really do his counters.
Yeah,
and what's he going to do all game?
That's true.
I think we're kind of running into the Maid Chloe issue too. I know you were talking about Maid Chloe earlier, but like all these like anti-RB units like really have kind of just dumpstered on Maid Chloe. Like Maid Chloe is just such a terrible unit right now because you have units like Emil Haste, you have like Singelica, you have all these units that strip, so like the Bassar, the Alencia, and like all these people who are like Maid Chloe users, or they like Maid Chloe is like, hey, like stop it, like please just do something with RB.
Yeah.
I want to be able to use this unit and like draft this unit, but I can't because you're like, instead of fixing the issue of a unit being too strong, you just release a bajillion counters for said unit. Like it feels really bad, right? And now we're like going to be in this spot. It's like, oh well, do we have to buff MLK? Like, do we have to buff Maid Chloe? And the power level is just going to gradually increase and gradually increase and gradually increase, and pretty soon, 10 years later, 10-year plan, by the way, the game's just going to be so power crept.
Yeah.
And my concern isn't so much with the cannot be countered clause, but just those kind of, for lack of better terms, counters. Oh, mindset and counters to these kind of problems. I mean, this was my same mindset back when Champion Zerato first came out, and he had the clause of cannot be stunned, cannot be slept, and later cannot have his hit chance reduced. I feel like those kind of units are just dancing around the issue, and the more of those units you release out there, you're basically just going to kill certain units and certain types of comps over time.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
That's fair. That's a fair point. I guess, yeah, that's something we could, because we talked about how Maid Chloe, like, and I think the biggest worry there itself is, as this happened, more and more units keep getting power crept, right? So it's not a big issue yet in this game. It's not that big an issue yet, but it's the worry of this being a possibility in the coming future, as this game is still kind of new, I would say. Well, it's been 2 years, but still in it's it's past the infancy. Yeah, well, we're starting to go up higher and higher, but yeah, it is something to be a little bit worried about. Actually, I want to talk about more about that stuff on the off-topic, open chat topic moment, but let's talk about something real quick. I don't think this should take that long, but what are your thoughts on Free Spirit Freeia?
I personally don't care.
Free Spirit who?
Wait, sorry, what? Free Spirit who?
I think it's great for new players, and for anyone else who's like stuck in the A13 Wyvern 13 mines, you kind of like, oh, that's neat, and then you kind of move on with your life and don't think about it. I don't know. I don't even know what she does, so
she's pretty decent, actually. She's nothing that's going to obviously make any impact in RTA, at least in my opinion, but for those newer players who need that extra help going through story, I feel like if you weren't smart about your rerolls and you kind of started your game without any massive carries, I do think that she would be a pretty good option for you there, because I think, if I remember correctly, her S3 has a self-immunity for 2 turns, S2 heals, and S1 just does extra crit damage on crits. Yeah. So she's a decent unit, just nothing that's going to be obviously in the meta.
Okay. Do you have anything to add on to that, Skylar?
I'm looking at her kit real quick. Give me a sec.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna lie. Like, I think it's cool they're giving like a free ML4, but I never really thought she was that good, especially with the fact that I feel like Commander Lorena is a very strong free unit that is available for people. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Like, I feel like it becomes like a competition between, do you want Commander Lorena or do you want Free Spirit Freeia? Because I feel like I don't know how good Free Spirit Freeia is in Abyss.
Yeah, and expeditions too, right? Commander Lorena is really good in the fire expedition, so people struggling with that, like having Commander Lorena is pretty important for that, as opposed to Free Spirit Freeia, who, I actually should look up her kit too.
It's fair. I mean, it's fair. I think
she looks nice. I guess she's got some nice assets, but other than that, like,
it's more for newer players, right?
Yeah, she's entirely for newer players, just to get help through the story.
Okay, all right. So that was a quick one. Bit of a, I'm gonna throw you guys a random topic here that wasn't on the list, but do you feel like Falconer Kluri is balanced?
No.
Okay.
Balanced compared to who?
I guess, yeah. In comparison to what?
I guess in the current meta, like, do you feel like she's too oppressive of a unit, or do you feel like she's okay in itself? I guess is a better way to.
Personally, I feel like there's a lot of oppressive tanks right now, or knights rather. Roz is really good still. Flurry is definitely up there, and especially when you pair her with units like Rylet. I mean, if you have a squishy unit and no means of reviving said units, you're basically going to be in a 3v4 match. And Flurry is already difficult to deal with in a full team if your DPS is not high enough because of her staying, because of her ability to soul burn, provoke, and also because of her cycling ability.
Mm-hmm.
And if you throw Justice for All on top of all that, I mean, it's a really difficult unit to deal with if you don't have the right draft for it.
Justice for All kind of made her over the top. She was never a bad unit, I don't think, right? Like, she was OP, then they nerfed her, and people were like, "Oh, now she sucks." But I even then, like, she wasn't bad. People just like were not happy that she wasn't OP anymore. And now, like, with Justice for All, with like this tank meta, like, we're starting to see a lot of these, like, I want to say older units, right? But like the DNs, the flurries, the stuff. A lot of it has to do with that self CR manipulation.
Yeah.
And like the ability, like, I'm pretty sure it happened during your Guild Wars day too. Like, you took like 3 or 4 turns before one unit because like you procced a speed buff and then you procced like an extra CR and then you just won. Like, it's insane how fast and how many turns she can get. And by the time you take your next turn, then she just like skill 3s you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Skylar?
Yeah, I think any unit that forces you into a specific draft is just oppressive right now. Like, you pick Flurry first, the opponent's forced to pick some kind of cleanse or just risk losing a unit off the bat or having them disabled for 2 turns.
Mm-hmm.
And Justice for All really did push her over the top with just how many buffs she can get from it. And with how fast she cycles turns, you'll see like 2 or 3 buffs on her.
One of the things is, so the thing is, she was nerfed a long time ago, right? That's the thing. She wasn't nerfed like recently. She wasn't like nerfed. Like, I think it was like last year, right? Like, I don't know. It's been a long time. I feel like I can't remember now. But
it was what was that actually? I don't even remember. It was like,
I still want to say it was before the first anniversary.
Yeah,
I want to say
like,
probably like 6 months into the game.
Yeah. So okay. So here's the thing, right? Her skill kit didn't change or anything. The only thing that was different that we got new was Justice for All, right? So, do you actually feel like it's the gear quality that went up that made her such an oppressive unit? Or is it a different combination of units that are available now that makes her such a strong unit in itself? Both? Okay.
I think it's that and like the game mode, right? Back then we didn't have RTA, so like you didn't really need Flurry to do all these things in PvE. In a PvP aspect though, like this is coming from Summoner's Wars, so like when I played Summoner's War before E7, there was a lot of units that were extremely powerful because of their ability to manipulate combat readiness. So units like the Oracles, right, being able to gain 45 CR if they crit 3 times on this skill 1. That alone just made Oracles really good, right? Like, because you could continue to take more turns than your opponent, and in like any PvP aspect, taking more turns is always better. So I think that also has to do with it, right? Because the release of RTA brought Dien back too, right? Like people started using Momo in Abyss and stuff instead of Dien. Like Dien wasn't used as much because again, she offered no sustain, and now Dien is one of the top 2 Soul Weavers, I would say. One of the top 5 units you can select and draft right now.
It's also that people are getting smarter with their drafts too, especially with the RTA scene, because you see more and more people speed tuning their units so that the gap between Flurry and their first DPS is as close to as it could be, preferably before a unit like the End gets a chance to go, or someone who might have a chance to cleanse the Flurry debuffs. And if you don't have a unit that goes between Flurry and whether it be Rylet or whoever that first unit is, you're losing a unit. But at the same time, I do believe that units like Flurry, although maybe not her exact kit right now, are still necessary for certain teams. And also certain units. So it's one of those situations where I think it's more the combo of the units is more oppressive than the unit itself. But still, I mean, Flurry by herself can solo a SSB pretty easily, and there's other types of situations like that that do pop up where if you don't draft correctly, you're just going to lose. But the same could be said for the wrong draft against a Dark Corvus, you're going to lose that one too. So
yeah, that's true.
I also think because Frenzy is how many turns are taken, right? That's how you move on. I think she really promotes this knight play style of accelerating into Frenzy, so your knights and Soul Weavers deal more damage. The ability to take all these turns accelerates that process in your favor.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, she'll definitely make the turn cycling go really quickly there. Okay, that's a fair point. It's been a question that I've had brought up a few times here and there. People, whether it's people complaining about Falconer Kluri again, or whether about people feeling like recently we saw in a lot of tournaments we see her being picked a lot. Just being
was she 100% in the 5v5?
No, she was picked. She was picked. I think what was it? I forgot what I said. I know she was.
I think it was 94%.
Yeah, she was picked almost every game. There's only a few, but yeah.
I think it was 33 out of 36.
Yeah, 33 times picked.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and, well, granted, this is a 3-star unit, right? It's a 3-star that most people should have access to. She's not in connections yet, but
that's actually one of the reasons why I think they shouldn't nerf Flurry, right? Is because she's a very free to play. While her gear may not be free to play, herself as a unit is
accessible unit for people.
Yeah, she's extremely accessible, and she's proven to be a successful unit, right? So I think that's the one reason why I think maybe not so much, but you get the people who can just gear these insane flurries, that's what makes it look way too OP.
Yeah, the I-90s, I guess. Yeah, okay. So actually, I'm gonna throw you guys one more topic. All right, it's since everyone here does RTA, are there any RTA units that you guys feel need to be nerfed, or is the current that came up?
I abuse that unit, but as Wombo says, your free trial of movement has ended. I think, for me personally, I think A Tywin is just a little bit over the top, and it's not necessarily him as a unit. It's his Soulburn.
Okay. Skylar, what do you feel like?
Yeah, if there's one overtopping right now, I have to agree it's ML Tywin with Soulburn. I actually think RB is not in a terrible spot right now, but his success in a match depends entirely on how many Alexis procs you get, and I think Alexis is more of a problem than RB himself is right now.
That's true.
Because if you let RB through in your draft, I'm sure you're drafting defense buffs and some kind of mitigation to deal with his damage.
Yeah.
But that all goes out the door when he just procs 2 or 3 greater attacks in a row and just wipes your team with it.
Yeah, that's true. The artifact is something else I might want to talk about after this, but Yeah. Are you on the same wavelength, Caerliss?
Actually, I'm okay with the meta as it is, and I don't think any unit requires a hit. The reason I say that, and I'm going to kind of say something that's kind of against what I've said about Flurry, but I feel like units like Tywin are at the right level of powerful, because I feel like there should be units that exist in the game that require answers in the comp, that you shouldn't just be able to draft whatever you want against the opposing team. I feel like if your opponent is drafting a ML Tywin, it requires specific picks to counter that unit, and there are other picks and not just one pick that will counter that.
Mm.
And I feel like it adds that additional thought, which I personally like in RTA. Yes, I feel like his soul burn for his S3 is definitely powerful, especially later in the game when you have those stacks of souls, and I think it can be increased to 20 souls without really tearing him down from his pedestal too much.
Yeah.
But outside of the soul burn, I think that ML Tywin is a healthy yet powerful unit. Personally,
I can agree with that. I honestly just think that Solber needs to be changed, right?
I feel like another thing here might be like, so gonna throw this out there. I feel like it's also part of the thing where a lot of people don't have immunity units built for RTA. It's not their first train of thought nowadays. Like, that's not what they go for, right? They'll have the immunity gear, but I feel like not a lot of people have, like Fire Cecilia built, Vivian built. I think. Wait, does DJ Bassar give immunity? No,
He does.
He does.
on
He
his
does.
S3, it
He
is.
Yeah, DJ Bassar.
Sure, too, isn't it?
What other immunity units are there?
Angelica.
Actually, Momo, and believe it or
Oh.
not, Momo is one of the units I do use to counter ML Tywin.
Mm-hmm.
Because she is still really good, especially at this level in RTA against legend comps who like to draft CC units.
Mm-hmm.
You generally need to add some effect res artifacts or imprints in there just to make sure that you don't get locked down still.
Yeah.
But it's part of the game.
Yeah,
I also
and
think, sorry.
oh no,
A Ross too is really important for the immunity.
Mm.
He only gives it to one unit, but he gives it to the
Two.
most important unit, which
Yeah.
is the DS.
yeah. I feel like that's where inherently a lot of issues come from, possibly. Like, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I still pre-banned a freaking ML Tywin just because that's where I thought about that myself. It's like, why do I pre-ban this guy? It's because I don't have immunity units built. I don't have a DJ Bassar. I don't have Fire Cecilia built, invested into. I don't have Vivian built, invested into. And like that kind of stuff, right? Like,
And that's why pre-ban and post-ban exists. You're supposed to pre-ban or post-ban the unit you don't have answers for, or the units you find most difficult to deal with.
yeah.
I mean, if you don't like ML Tywin and you feel like you don't have answers for him on your accounts, you pre-ban him. If there's another unit, then you pray that they don't go with that unit, and if they do, you post-ban it.
Mm-hmm.
I just pick Emil Tywin.
Oh,
Or you pick it.
Yeah, abuser. All right. Fair enough. So I'm gonna open this to the chat. I'm curious, chat. Do you guys have any specific questions you guys want to ask, or anything? Even you guys want to bring up and talk about specifically? You feel like is like, yeah.
100% Flan.
Get out of here.
I'm reading chat right now. It's 100%
Stop. Landy. It's Mecca.
Yo, what if Flan has a mecha? Huh?
Okay, if Flan has a mecha, I'll take it back. Then I'll go for Flan.
A mecha with tits.
Why did I invite this guy to the podcast?
Don't worry.
Why did I invite this guy? Someone remind me not to. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay. So sorry. Whoever started that now, that's all that's all I see now. Oh, actually, sorry. Let's talk about one thing first. Artifacts wise.
If I see one more new artifact on a old unit, I'm going to scream.
That's actually like, I was a salty person watching the live stream this morning. Like, I am pretty fed up with Smilegate thinking like it's okay to like keep putting these artifacts behind like these old banners. Like, I don't want to pull on old banners for these artifacts. Like, that's not what I want to spend my Sky Stones on. That's not what I want to spend my resources on. And then to release artifacts that like potentially could be really good. So I think the Tenebri artifact has a lot of potential. Like, I think that that artifact on like a Spec Tenny could be really quite interesting. Like like Fire Tenebria, or if you want to use it on Dizzy, like giving extra dual attack chance. Like is pretty good. You increase RNG in your favor in RTA, which RNG plays a huge factor. So placing these behind like old banners just really makes me angry because it shows like where Smilegate's like head is, right? And it's money.
I'll be honest, I didn't normally think this way, but at least for these artifacts on old units, though artifacts that are not limited but still new but on an old unit, I really think that they just need to throw either a single copy or a couple of copies just inside the powder shop for those.
Okay, that's fair. Skylar, any thoughts about current artifact situation?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of them just adding all these new artifacts locked behind older heroes, especially when you're not even guaranteed to get the new artifact on banner. I think the powder shop will be the first solution. Whenever a new artifact is added, it should be on powder rotation. At least one copy.
Okay.
But as it is, the artifact pool is already getting more and more diluted, especially when you're not guaranteed the actual banner artifact when you pull on that specific banner.
Yeah, that's true. Like, if the artifact pool is getting diluted, right? That's the other thing.
Right. If they are going to keep this method of releasing so many new artifacts a month, they really need to cut back the rotation of the powder shop. What is it right now? 3 months, I think, for the rotation.
It's like 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's insane.
I think that's the other thing too. Is like, okay, don't get me wrong. Some of them are not bad, but some of the artifacts are absolutely like, I feel like useless. Which
the 10 artifact is garbage.
Yeah.
Doctor's Bag, anyone?
Oh yeah. Doctor's Bag also. Like, they're like, what is this doing? Like, in the pool, like I don't understand. I guess I don't want to say too much, but I feel like what are some of these artifacts doing in the pool? And I feel like the only people who get any sort of benefit out of this are brand new players. So people who have started the game already, they've played a bit of the game, they have a unit, doesn't benefit them if they're free to play. They're mini spenders, doesn't benefit them. If you're a whale and you have the unit triple S, that hurts you even more. Well, aside from the coins, but we don't know when that's coming.
It's funny because I feel like Doctor's Bag was intended for a Soul Weaver like DJ Bazaar, who gave his team a CR boost and maybe like an attack buff, but didn't cleanse the units. But because he already cleansed, it's just like, well, okay, he's not for that unit, so what unit is Doctor's Bag there for? And I feel like it's there for a unit that just doesn't exist yet. But if there's ever a Soul Weaver that does boost the team, whether it be 20 or 30% CR, and does maybe give an attack boost but doesn't do anything else, I feel like that unit is going to shine with Doctor's Bag.
Just wait until they buff it to Doctor's Basket. Everyone will be crying.
Okay. I think... I guess there's a few issues, I feel like. It's not just that. It's... Someone brought this up in chat too, which was limited artifacts and whatnot. Like, having a limited unit, I think it's cool. But then there's the issue where now if new people join the game or whatnot, right? And they can't get those limited units again. Or it gets to a point where that limited unit, we get enough limited units that in a year, we're not getting new ones, or they're just going to be rerunning limited units again, like the whole year round, instead of bringing new ones. Then, like, there's going to get to that point, like, what are they going to do? I'm afraid, like...
I'm going to wait until they do another rerun of one of the limited units to see how they handle the artifact on that specific unit before I really make any decisions there, because I feel like they got enough hate from the SSB that they're almost forced to either make a change or basically say that they believe that what they're doing is fine. It's going to be one or the other.
The Luna rerun, honestly. Like, I think put one that costs a lot of currency, just farmable, right? Just one farmable copy.
Yeah.
People that just limit break it with bottle, great. But like one of the reasons why the only Draco plate I got during that was that one from the shop. Otherwise, I wouldn't have pulled. I had a triple S Luna.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason for me to pull, and there's no reason for me to like wait for ML Luna. Like, yeah, come on, guys, let's be real. That's not happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
So here's what I think they're going to do, and if they do, I'm going to be very upset. But I have a feeling that when we start getting these, I can't remember what they're called, the coins basically from duplicate units.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to put the limited artifact in that shop. So if you do get SSS of the units, you could start buying the limited artifact with those coins if you decide to go over. I feel like that's what they're going to do.
Ooh,
I would not like that.
That
would be fun.
Yeah, that sounds a little scary. I didn't really think about that, but now that you brought it up, that's kind of. I hope not. I hope
not too. I'd much rather it be in the powder shop, but it just seems really like something that they would do, and I really hope that I'm wrong there.
I do have a question for like Caerliss and Sug, and I guess you two, Gabe. Like, how much powder do you guys have, if you're willing to say? Because I think for a lot of players too, like the rate at which you obtain powder is low. Like I only have like, I think last I checked I had like 62 powder of knowledge.
I'll probably be the next lowest. I think I have like 180 right now.
I think I'm at under 100, somewhere between 50 and 100. I'm
Really?
barely getting enough powder to buy out the bottles every rotation.
I'm more than 100.
More than 100.
Caerliss is like, yeah, just yeah, maybe, you know, a little bit.
I was just gonna wait to see what everybody else said before I give my answer.
Caerliss, it's okay. I think most of us know, you know, from your introduction. Yeah, we know you're probably a little bit on the higher end there, but
Caerliss is free to play.
Oh well, yeah, true.
He manages free to play resources really well.
Yeah, I'm also very picky with what I buy from the powder shop because there are specific artifacts I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And chances are the artifacts that do go into rotation, I'd be going for a second copy of anyway, so I could ignore them pretty easily. So really, the only thing I really buy is the bottle, some charms if there is artifact I want to MLB.
Yeah.
And then just waiting for something like Touch of Rakos, please, or Justice for All or something else I need to MLB.
Do you feel like one of the things I've been thinking about artifact wise was, do you feel like selling artifacts gives you back too low amount of powder? Like I don't know, maybe it's just
no.
Okay.
I think so. I think it's low, but I also think, and this is kind of like unrelated, but for me, I spend a lot of my powder on charms because I find it extremely difficult to like maximum break and just 30 an artifact right away. I think artifact experience for 90% of people out there is going to be extremely hard to come by. So then they're like, well, do I save for the bottle or do I get like this artifact? Like I know a lot of people like Timos, for instance, is like waiting for Sigurd's in shop, right? And then like he was just like, I just have to get a Sigurd's. Like I can't get anything else. Like waiting for this one artifact because I want to be able to use MLK. I want to be able to use units that would use Sigurd Scythe, and then they're missing out on like artifact XP and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I think it's fine right now because here's the issue is, what are you going to really cater it towards? A free-to-play player? Because if you do that, then any person that actually spends and often rolls or summons, they're going to start getting so much powder where it's just going to be a field day for them. They'll be able to get whatever they want, MLB all their artifacts, especially for whales. I feel like it would just propel them even more ahead of everybody else. I mean, not that they're already ahead of everybody else already, but we're talking about being able to get multiple copies of whatever artifact they want, because I just can't imagine them giving you additional powder than what they already do right now by selling artifacts. But I'll be honest, I think a lot of my powder doesn't necessarily come from artifacts as much as it comes from things like hunts.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I get most of mine now just from like hunt drops and stuff.
Okay. That's an interesting point. There's another question in chat that I missed, but right. Someone was asking about equipment sets. Do you guys feel like there's any equipment sets that need to be buffed?
Everything in Golem.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but the question then becomes, at what scale do you need to increase the sets from Golem for it to be on par with something like immunity and speed?
Wait, did Washable just freeze at the perfect moment?
Yes.
Hey, Washable, are you frozen? Hello?
I think we lost him.
Oh, no, he's
there
back.
He is.
he froze at the smile.
Back?
Yeah, you're back.
You're back.
Okay, sorry, what were you saying, Caerliss?
I think the issue isn't so much like what sets need buffed, but it's how much do you have to buff them for them to be better than something such as a speed set or immunity set. Because keep in mind, there are still people out there that utilize HP sets and defense sets on units such as Verana, where speed doesn't really matter. And those units have a lot of bulk. So when you start increasing the bulk of those sets from Golem, you're just going to make those units that much more difficult to really kill, because those kind of units only care about the ×3 HP or defense sets, maybe one immunity set mixed in with that. They don't really care about the speed. So it's really difficult to really decide at what scale do you want to improve those gear sets.
Okay, that's true. Skylar, what do you think?
I'm personally hoping the new hunts will add some more diversity to at least the 2-set bonuses that are currently in the game right now. Because right now, immunity is basically king. Resist sets on some soul weavers, and you rarely see anything else in terms of the 2-piece bonuses. So I'm hoping to see some more diversity with the new hunts, at least as far as the 2-set bonuses go. Maybe not in the way of flats or percent stats, but just something similar to immunity or something that affects gameplay, other than just giving, a flat buff or raw stats.
And well, on that line, with the same same topic, do you have any predictions for like the new hunt gear sets, Skylar?
I think it's been discussed to death already. But I'm assuming it's going to be similar along to the lines of what they had in Summoner's War. Maybe an invasion set for my Rylet.
True. Rylets don't dodge enough right now currently. I've seen most of them get hit in tournaments regardless, and they just die. But
I honestly think we should get a 2-set violent set. Well, give me that Smilegate. Like let's make RTA fun.
You're gonna get chat on you with pitchforks.
No, but I think a destroy set would be really cool. For those of you who don't know what destroy is, it literally destroys a percentage of the unit's max HP as they take damage from that unit. So they can only heal up to like a certain point past like what you've destroyed. So like let's say it's a 20k HP Ruel and you destroy 400 or 500 of her HP, then like she can only heal up to like 19.5k HP.
Okay.
I personally think that the sets are going to be nothing so complex. I think it's just going to be more HP sets or defense sets, only not so much for the unit that wears it, but for the allies.
Oh. So wait, so if a unit itself has this new set equipped, you think it's, giving HP for the rest of your team?
Basically, think imprints, but on the scale of a piece of gear, not so much on the unit itself. So basically, unit sets that give those stats to the team, not so much to the unit that's wearing it.
It's like fight runes, like enhanced runes, stuff like that in Summoner's War.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. I think It always comes back to this, and like we actually I talked about this on Cafe Kaz's podcast too, but like it always comes back. I'm curious if there's gonna be like new stuff or whatnot, but like we always lean back towards a possibility of like a defense penetration set, but like
Please don't.
like I thought about it a little bit, but I'm a little worried about that. Is like certain units might get a little bit too much out of that, namely like Watcher Shuri, Rylet, and like stuff like that.
I mean,
Watch your Sherry won't.
Yeah.
I
Sorry, not
mean,
Watcher Shuri.
If you think about it, well, it's not just like that. I think like you're essentially giving everyone an Elia's knife, right? So then you pair that. Like imagine an Elia's plus like Alexa's basket on your RP, right?
Yeah.
Elias Ludwig.
True.
I think that would just be like more detrimental than like that. That doesn't fix tank meta. That just makes everyone want to use like all these cleave units again.
Like it'll straight up kill off the tank meta. Everyone's gonna be transitioning to a cleave, right?
And that's why I think this is going to be nothing so complex. I think they were going to start small with these new sets, because if you put anything like that into the game, you really risk destroying the RTA even more so than it is right now. And keep in mind that we're talking about something that's what, a month or 2 months down the line. I mean, the meta's likely to shift from now to then with whatever new units they come out with.
Mhm.
So although they might be saying that they're going to release these sets to address a tank meta right now,
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say that a tank meta is going to be the issue when those sets are released still? People might get used to the meta as it is right now and find ways to counter it. And my concern there is by addressing what they think might be wrong with the tank meta, and I still don't think there's really anything wrong with the meta right now. I think it's the healthiest meta that we've likely had. And you risk kind of shifting that balance with these new sets if they're anything as complex as what a lot of people are talking about. So I hope they aren't anything too complex. Yes, it would be nice to add some variety to the game, but I feel like that is stepping on some very thin sheets of ice there.
Okay.
More like a shield set.
I feel like shield set ends up being useless though compared to like immunity.
I guess. I think on some units though that don't necessarily run the immunity, if you can get like a Krau, let's say for instance, like let's say a Krau who has like 150 FRES, like 25k HP, let's Nom's Krau, right?
Okay.
And you put that on a shield set, that has some pretty big impact, I think.
But then, so we're talking about like a shield set that only starts on the like just for the first turn, or is it like how
it's the same as Summoner's War, right? So I'm thinking about Summoner's War.
okay.
Like, everything that I say in terms of like new rune sets is in comparison to Summoner's War.
Okay.
But shield set essentially gives like a team-wide shield based on a percentage, like the percentage of the shield, like HP. So let me just pull up Summoner's War on my phone real quick because I don't know the exact percentage.
Okay.
But yeah, it's essentially like if you ran it like it's like FCC essentially. But
Okay.
like a set.
Okay. I guess that's an interesting thought. I guess some units, I could see some units using it. I guess one thing is true. They did say they want to counter the current meta, but maybe it should be okay. I'm not up in like RTA, so like I think it's more of a question for like Caerliss and Suck. But like, are people right now going crazy in RTA? Like, sorry, not crazy. Sorry, like I know there's some people that are very aggro in RTA. Is that true? Do you guys happen to know?
When you say egg roll, what exactly?
Sorry, aggro, like
aggro or aggro?
sorry, aggro, like
Oh, aggro. Okay.
they're like full damage. Like, I mean, like it seems like there are people who play still like the tank meta, but there are people who just go like full damage and like they try to kill you as soon as possible.
There's always going to be people like that. I mean, there's no change to that. The reason why people tend to go with the more tanky and sustain comps is just because they're safer and they're generally units that they already have built or that really it's when you build, let's say, a Krau or a Raz or a Flurry, and you look at their stats. I mean, it's much more difficult, in my opinion, at least, to look at the stats of a Flurry and say this Flurry looks SSS tier versus looking at a RB and saying this RB looks SSS tier, because offensive stats are always that much more to really scale just by looking at them. Yeah. Whereas for tanks, you have to look at the stats and then also take into account their effectiveness, effect resist, and that kind of stuff too. And a tank could look really tanky because of their HP and defense, but they might have 0 ER, but that's still usable for most people, unless it's against a crowd control. But the number of crowd control players, at least in Legend, I would say that the number's slowly climbing up, but it's nothing in comparison to bruisers. And against bruisers, you really just care about the HP and defensive stats mostly. Yes, you obviously want a high ER, and it's always going to come down to the bruiser that has more stats and always better RNG is always going to win. But I feel like that's why you see so many people kind of going to that bruiser playstyle, is because it's much easier to build a unit that looks more appealing to you than it is to build a cleave team that looks appealing to you. Okay. Because people always, in my opinion, they underestimate themselves in their speed gear, and they think, well, I can only make my speed units 260 or 270 speed. Yeah. That's probably nothing for to get into Legend or to get into a champion or challenger. And really, you'd be surprised, because sometimes when you go cleave, you don't have people try to speed contest you. You have people just tank it up.
That's true. There are some people who also aren't, a lot of people aren't confident in speed contesting. So if they're not confident, they'll just straight up pick the safer route, right? Like just tank up and like try their best to live and then kill you afterwards, kind of thing.
I think it's kind of early too, because cleave is pretty like innately risky, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people climbing now, like you can climb with cleave, you can push early with cleave, but as the season progresses and as the points like truly start to matter, you're going to see a lot more people choose like these slow bruiser tanky like matchups because it's safer. And you don't want to randomly lose. Like it's always a joke, like when you do RTA and you queue up to that random like master player who is just sandbagging, right? It's just the -30, right? And you're down 30 points and it feels really bad.
It's also inherently risky to go cleave because, I guess depending on the type of cleave, because if you queue up Athletica, you're already kind of broadcasting what kind of play style or what kind of game plan you're going with. It's going to be some form of cleave or CC. Whereas if I pick MLV, it's probably going to be bruiser, but what variant of bruiser? Because I could be very different with the picks that come after that.
Okay.
I meant Rylet there, MLV, Rylet. I go back and forth between them, but I feel like there's better variants of cleaves nowadays. I know that some people, when they go cleave, they like to pick RB first, but it's also just really identifying what these picks and bans are. If the person bans FCC and they go RB first, chances are they're going to cleave you. So you just have to be really prepared against that.
Okay, that's fair.
And that's why I like FCC as a unit right now, actually. And I always first pick FCC because she's so, how do you say, like
neutral,
she fits into, like,
versatile.
Yeah, versatile.
Okay, yeah, versatile.
You can fit her into like a cleave, right? Like you can just straight up take her away, and she offers that skill nullifier protection, like 2 layers of skill nullifier protection with like Flitica FCC on your squishy DPS units is enough to like cycle you enough turns to just kill them. Or you can use her in slow cleave with like Rose, Charles, Arby, stuff like that. And then if they start to like pick these components, you have FCC as just this tank. And you can now start like drafting your Flurries, your Lilies, your Rolls, your Gens, and then bulk up that way. So I think the versatility of her like as a unit is why I think like cleave is like still okay, but also like I don't want to say oppressive, but sometimes it feels bad getting cleaved.
Okay. I am curious to see what happens to Cleave, though, after ML Krau does come out, because I do feel like he's going to be a big counter to Cleave, but at the same time, like I said, I do feel like there are going to be some people who try to build him into their Cleave, specifically slow Cleave, and they try to kind of hide the fact that they're going to Cleave by picking him first, because he's one of those units that is really versatile, just like FCC.
Yeah, I agree. I think he could work really well in like these Rose Cleaves or the slow Cleaves.
Okay, that's true. We'll have to see. I'll be interested to see how you guys build up. Krau, if you guys get him. Some of you guys guaranteed to get him. Other of us, I don't know if we'll get him or not. But
I have 800 mystics and a dream.
yeah, I'm with you there, bro. But okay, that was pretty good. Yeah. So honestly, on that note, I appreciate you guys joining me today. It was fun talking with friends, just about a bunch of topics that I was curious about myself too. I appreciate you guys joining me on the podcast today. Caerliss, Skylar, Washable. I know some of the topics I like kind of threw out at you guys, kind of blindside you guys, but I thank you guys for being able to pick those up pretty easily there. But yeah. Do you guys want to plug in your guild recruitments, or are you guys okay there? Because I know. Well, I don't care about you. You stream anyways. Whatever about you. But Caerliss and Skylar, since you guys don't stream, do you guys need guild recruitments, or are you guys okay? Actually, wait, probably not, right?
I think we're always recruiting females, but
Sorry, wait, what?
Don't think we're actively recruiting right now.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Denias, are you still in chat? Is this? Sorry, what?
I think Morry, or Trap House as we used to be called, is always looking for interested people. So just toss us a DM and we'll check you guys out and see if we want you.
All right. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Later.
See ya.
See ya.